Okay, welcome back. And for those of you who have been emailing me, where's Dan, where's Dan? Well, he's here. We finally got him back. Dan Perkins is with us, political commentator, host of What's on My Mind podcast, and the author of a brand new book, The Democratic Murder of America, Demagoguery in the First Degree. Wow. There's a picture of the cover of the book right there. And he has a couple of places you can go here. Murder of America. And .com, that's the book site, and then his own personal website, danperkins.guru. So a lot going on. Wow, there it is, The Democratic Murder of America. Check it out. Dan, congratulations. Good to see you, buddy.
Thank you, sir. I'm really excited. This is out of 10 books, this is the first nonfiction book I've ever written.
Well, it's about time.
And yeah, I'm sorry?
I said it's about time.
One of my publicists said, I've been trying to get you for 10 years to write something other than fiction.
Yeah.
But it's the more we got into it, the more we sourced it and got all the references. It really is. It's a history of violence in the Democratic Party from 1822 when it was founded.
Okay, so what motivated you to go down this road? We talk a lot about this, but this is really pinpointing it. What caused you to do this?
That's a great question. I did an interview with my co-author, Sheriff Mack, some time ago, and we were talking about what was going on in the country. He's a retired sheriff. He's the head of the Constitutional Police Officers Association, of anybody who's in law enforcement. And it's a pretty good sized organization. And I said, I'd like to talk to you about an idea that been rolling around in my brain. I looked at what was going on, and I looked back in 2020 when we had the riots, and mayors in Democratic cities were saying to the police, stand down, let them burn the city down. And I began to, it just kind of bothered me that the Democrats never talk about violence, and when the Republicans do, they get accused of being racist or homophobic or white supremacist or whatever. And the news media always seems to follow the Democratic line. So I began to look at things, and I started when the party was founded, and I looked early on. They were not in favor of leaving England. They were supporters of the king in the South. And when it came time to deal with slavery, they were obviously very pro-slavery, anti-slavery, and that's why they succeeded. But that was the beginning of violence in the Democratic Party, with the formation of the Ku Klux Klan and then the Jim Crow laws that were in effect until 1950, which surprised me that they had been in that long. And then I began to look at the various congressmen and senators who were members of the Klan and were fighting against civil rights. And it just kind of dawned on me that something's not right in this picture. And I called the sheriff and I said, I want to write this book. I've never written a nonfiction book before, but I think there's a great story, terrible story, that we need to help people. And I tell you, Perry, people who have read the manuscript, there is a common theme that with everybody who's read it. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Okay.
And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to do two things here. One, we're trying to educate America about violence in the Democratic Party. And before you walk in that voting booth in November, you're going to think about what you've read. The second part of this book, which I'm really excited about, is that I believe we have a catalyst here to reawaken what I call the silent majority, which we've heard before. We've entered into a relationship with the news network of Your News, and they're already creating an organization, a person called a citizen journalist. And in the last part of the book, we teach them how to be a citizen journalist by giving them two questions and a lot of background information about how to ask the question. And we're looking for 435 people who are interested in patriotism and getting the truth out. They will have their own individual website on your news, and as they challenge the candidates, Democrat, Republican, with our questions, they will be able to post them, and the world will be able to see what the candidates are saying about two very important questions. So we're teaching people, we're making people feel comfortable that they do have a right to have an opinion without being criticized or attacked or abused. And it just, if I want to, you being a Christian broadcaster, I think this is important. If I could just have about a minute. There's somebody that you should admire and you should learn more about. His name was Ezra Sampson. He was a patriot in Plymouth, Massachusetts. He was a reverend in the American Congregational Church, and he was a chaplain during the Revolutionary War. From the sermon, from the pulpit in 1805, let me say that again, 1805, over 220 years ago, he said this: if the sources of public information should be corrupted, if newspapers should become vehicles of falsehood and slander, if education of our children and youth should be neglected, if there should be a general deprivation of morals, if patriotism itself should become a byword by reason of the conduct of the hypocritical professions, it should be the state of, it could be the state of things. It would be too seriously to have this happen and ruin our country.
Wow.
That was 220 years ago. A Protestant minister from the pulpit warned the country of what could come. And if you look at that, and you can find it, Ezra Sampson, Sampson. He's in the book. But if you wanted to find it on your own, what an inspiration and what a visionary this man was of what some of the costs might be in this democratic society, which is not a democratic country. We are a republic, and we talk about that time and time again. So it's really an education. It's a history of violence. It's also a history of the Democratic Party and the history of America.
Congratulations. Available through the website or online yet?
Yes, it's through the website. We really pushed. So we brought out an ebook first, which is available on the website which you gave. Then I'm working on an audio book, and we're working with the printer to bring out the printed copy sometime in late June. All of this to try and get it out and start talking about it before the midterm elections.
All right, murderofamerica.com is the website, murderofamerica.com. So, Dan, I'm just kind of curious, was the title intentionally provocative?
Absolutely. As is the picture. I had people say when they saw the cover of the book, they said, I can't imagine anybody could not stop and look after seeing that picture on the cover of the book and say, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah.
And one of my publicists tells me that she's taking the book to the National Association of Broadcasters Convention, I guess in February, to help promote it.
Well, congratulations again. Again, I think there's something we've learned in our discussion, and obviously you're uncovering it in this book. The Democrats get an A+ and blaming us for what they're doing.
You know, all of the modus operandi of the Democratic Party when they started down this path of violence is that they convinced other people to be their executors.
Right.
And so they got the Ku Klux Klan or Antifa or Black Lives Matter or hundreds of other organizations who were their surrogates. They were not aligned with the Democratic Party, but supported a Democratic philosophy. In the book, we make the accusation, Perry, that all changed when Joe Biden came in. When he opened up the border to bring in millions of people and hundreds of thousands of criminals, and people were murdered, women were raped, and girls were raped, and intimidation, all this happened under Joe Biden's watch. It was the Republican Party who has been fighting against what he did, but it's the Democratic Party who passed the legislation, who enforced the laws and didn't enforce the laws. They became now their own surrogates in the Biden administration. and cost tens of thousands of Americans to die.
Wow. All right, let me shift gears a little bit here before we run out of time. Last night was a huge night in midterm elections, Texas being the big one. And here you
Yes,
have,
sir.
this is pretty remarkable, where you got Paxton taking out Cornyn 63 to 37. I mean, they called it within 60 seconds of the closing of the polls. I've never seen a
Out there, huh?
well, I mean, he's been in Congress for decades. You kind of wonder what happened here. And I realized the president didn't endorse Paxton until about 3 weeks ago. So a combination of things here. What's your take?
My take is the Democrats have put themselves in a position to believe their press clippings. They believe that they can win the midterm elections and turn the House into an impeachment mode for Donald Trump. However, what we have seen from senators to congressmen to state legislators across the country, everybody so far that was endorsed by Donald Trump won. What they don't understand is that the American people do agree with what he's doing. And whether the news media is trying to tell people that it's not right, or the war is going the wrong way, or all these things, the American people are not buying it. And when Donald Trump says, I think we need to replace some of these Republicans in the Senate who voted against me, voted to impeach me, or voted against my policies to make America great again, we need to be primaried out. And that's what's happening. And the Democrats don't know what to do. On top of that, we have redistricting, and especially the elimination of black districts. There are some people, Perry, that say that single Supreme Court decision may switch 40 to 45 Democratic House seats from Democrat to Republican because of the change. So what's happening is that Donald Trump is continuing to fight. He's continuing to do things. He's supporting candidates. He's getting the law changed. He's getting the court to consider things, and they're going, in most cases, his way. And all of this, and the Democrats are getting more and more violent. And this is a prediction I made some time ago. If the Democrats do not get control of the House, they will implode. They will become even more violent in the country.
Okay, so the president is now 9 for 9 in his endorsements. We've never seen a sitting president go after sitting Republican incumbents and going for their challengers like he is. He got rid of Massey. It looks like Dan Goldman is in trouble, who is an impeachment pusher. And the list goes on and on. Something is happening, and I think we need to understand it. Right now, it's in the press, it's the Democrats against Trump. But we have to understand the citizens are making these changes. The citizens are voting.
Yes. Would you tell me in the Texas primary, was it 63 to 30 something?
Yeah, it was 63 to 37.
That's not close.
Not even close.
And so you could say if it was really close, Trump made a difference. But what happened when you got 63 to 37, the people in Texas who voted made the difference, not Donald Trump. He brought it to their attention. They understood it. They believed what he was saying. They looked at Cornyn's record, and they agreed with the president, and he was out.
Well, Cornyn did a couple things that really got him in trouble. He was against the president closing the border, and he's against the SAFE Act. And he's a Texan, okay? And Paxton made a line yesterday in his speech was really good. He said, the Senate seat from Texas doesn't belong to Washington, it belongs to Texas.
Absolutely.
I mean, he flipped the whole purpose of public service back where it should be.
Yeah. You go to California, go to the mayor's race in Los Angeles. They had a debate. The Democratic candidate wiped the floor with the women who were, including the mayor, so badly that the Democrats canceled any future debates. They don't want to go up against this guy because he screamed after that debate, and they knew they were in trouble. So the only way they can try and stop it is they've got to stop the open sharing of information and beliefs, and that's what transparency is about, Perry. That's what Donald Trump has been talking about, is transparency. And when we say that Cornyn did all the things that you mentioned, how he can call himself a Republican and why Republicans should re-elect him was the question that Donald Trump was asking. And the Texas people listened to what the president said, weighed what he said, then looked at it and concluded that Cornyn had to go.
All right, let me take a quick break. Let me say to our viewers and listeners a couple of things. Dan's new book, you can go to murderofamerica.com. That's the landing page for the book. The book is entitled The Democratic Murder of America, Demagoguery in the First Degree, and there's a picture of the landing page, and check it out, and then get ready for the hardcover coming out. And then Dan also has a personal website, danperkins.guru. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Been a while, but delighted to have back with us Dan Perkins. And here to let you know his book is finally out, called The Democratic Murder of America. That's a strong title. And Demagoguery in the First Degree. It does have a website, murderofamerica.com, murderofamerica.com. Dan, in your history...
You have to know something, Perry. It had a previous title.
Oh, that was?
Democrats are killing Americans.
Oh. Yeah, well, that would have been a little tough to swallow. All right, so let me, to this point, I mean, this title is very provocative. And you uncover the fact that the Democrats have turned to violence.
Absolutely.
Now, if we're not careful...
Right now, Hakeem Jeffrey's brother is a professor, and he's talking about we need to go to the streets. Hakeem follows it by saying, quote, "We must use all means available to stop this."
Okay, so how are peaceful citizens to respond?
How should they what? I'm sorry?
How should we peaceful citizens respond to this?
The first thing we have to, and this is really important. The Democratic Party has for centuries tried to control speech and control people, because if you can control speech and people, then you can get control of the government and you get done what you want. We have to understand the Democratic Party doesn't care a whit about us. They're looking at what can they do to gain control. Mm-hmm. That's why when we talked in the last segment, I talked about citizen journalists. We have created a platform where people can go to it and report and or read about what's going on from firsthand accounts of people who are in the trenches. I think if we can get America back to talking about the issues and do it in a safe way that they don't have to feel intimidated by the Democratic Party, that's how we do it. We look for opportunities, whether it's the Republican Party conventions or meetings or whatever it is. Citizen journalists is another one. Look at the opportunities of where we can re-engage to save our country, because it's going to take us, the American voter, to re-engage to save our country.
So do you sense, I mean, do you think it's imploding on the Democrats? Is it falling apart and it's even making it worse? They're losing and they know it.
Yes, I believe in their heart of hearts they know that they're losing. And I have grave concerns, and I've said this many times. I have grave concerns. They have invested so much in trying to convince us through their partners in the media that Mr. Trump is no longer carries any influence and that the Democrats are going to take control of the House. If they don't, I don't care whether they lose it by one, but if they lose it by 40 or 50, more, the more the better. I think that we're going to see the Democratic Party infighting between the far left, the middle, and the right be so vicious. And this is terrible to say it this way, Perry, but I see fights where people are going to die.
Okay. Given what's happening. That's all right. I mean, that's where you're Dan and I'm not. So
I can get away with it. You can't, huh?
That's okay. Leaving, if we could, and I guess we can't necessarily leave the war with Iran out of the equation and high gas prices. But how do you think the midterms are shaping up after what happened last night in Texas?
Democrats have made a huge, huge bet on the concept of it costs too much to live in America anymore, and that they have to do something to bring down prices. They have absolutely focused this whole argument on the price of gasoline at the pump as a result of the war in Iran. Now, it was down at one point this morning, it was down to $88 a barrel. I've looked at the charts, and we are very, very close to a triple bottom, which could mean the momentum is going further south. And while I'm trying not to predict, the charts would indicate that the next major area of support is $63 a barrel. You could see, Donald Trump could be absolutely correct. You could see a crash in the oil markets maybe before midsummer. Now, if you take away the oil story and the prices of the gasoline at the pump and prices start to fall because now gasoline could be more affordable, what do they have left to talk about, Perry?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
They have no policies, nothing to turn the economy around other than to deal with prices. Okay. And they're creating a situation where as Mark Twain said, if you find yourself in a hole, the first thing you do is stop digging.
Right, right.
And the Democrats have not stopped. They're continuing to dig deeper and deeper and deeper, and they'll never get out of the hole.
Okay.
And I think that if we get gas prices on a national average around $3 to $3.50, the Democrats are in serious trouble.
Okay, to that point, the president's running out of time here. Can we afford to go into another multi-week conflict, which may be inevitable? And can he get out of that before the 4th of July, the 250th birthday, and all that celebration to bring those oil prices down by August to impact the election by November?
Yes, I think there is time because gas prices can fall rapidly as the price of crude oil falls. But I think you're raising an extremely important point. My concern, and I'm not disagreeing with you, sir, I'm just having a different viewpoint. My concern is not the price of gasoline. My concern is whatever agreement is reached between the Iranian government and the United States, Israel, and the Middle Eastern nations. Mm-hmm. Will they do what they're saying they do when they sign a piece of paper? Remember, when a Muslim negotiates with an infidel, they don't have to do anything they say. So I'm very concerned that they'll try and capitulate. They'll say they'll capitulate to open up the Straits of Hormuz so that freight can go through, and they'll turn over their uranium. Except they won't turn over the uranium. And now what do we do as a world?
Well, I think...
So I think that they're playing a very close game. But the strategy, Perry, and I started this concept several weeks ago, and other people have now picked it up. Don't send 500 planes in the air. Mr. Trump is to say to the Iranian people, tomorrow night we're going to take out the first power plant. And then you'll have 24 hours to decide whether you want to come to the table and bargain seriously If you don't, then the next night we'll take out a bridge. And I want them to see them take them out one at a time, because I believe they will build more pressure on the Iranian people and on the Iranian government, while at the same time they have to begin to deal with IRC and start taking out more of that leadership. So I don't think sending out a bunch of planes and rockets and all that stuff is what we need to do in the next strategy. We need to start picking targets, and little drops of water on stones create little grains of sand. I think things will get more and more terrifying for the people, and they'll have to react.
Okay, I'm out of time, but let me just say that I understand what you're saying, and I don't disagree with it. At the end of the day, the goal is no nukes, and you can't leave that regime in place and some uranium in place. That would be a failure. So somewhere along the line, there's going to have to be a pretty aggressive neutralization, or this thing is just going to drag on forever.
Right, and that's what the Iranians want. They want it to drag on. They don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
And so we're going to have to force them. But there's two ways to do it. You either do massive attack, or you take my approach and start knocking off pieces at a time that impacts the government and the people.
Got to go, buddy. Congratulations. The book is entitled The Democratic Murder of America, Demagoguery in the First Degree. Only Dan Perkins can come up with that. Murderofamerica.com is the website. danperkins.guru is the other website. Check it out. There's a picture of that landing page. Congratulations, buddy. Can't wait to talk more about it. And stay in the fight. We need you.
Thank you, sir. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.